No.
Chris, are you recording this?
Thank you. This is a cross-section through a lung. The idea to show you that the lungs are not hollow balloons. Okay, they're more like a sponge. I could actually put this in water and it would absorb water. Remember, your lungs are made up of those alveoli, all of those millions of little spaces. And so that's what you're seeing when you're looking at this, are the alveoli. It's just that they're microscopic. So think of your lungs as an air sponge instead of a water sponge. So go ahead and pass that around first and just kind of be careful with it because it's gentle. And I will set this up. So here we have, can somebody grab me some paper towel, please?
Yep.
I forgot there's a little bit of fluid left in here.
Is there one human and one pig?
Right.
It's like free.
They're
both pigs.
they're both pigs.
You know, I'm like gonna make a pig sound when I'm holding it. Look at it. Look, it looks like bacon on the or like ham on the outside. So is that the?
Okay.
Feel
So
it. It's like
this
it's not holding
is
on
what's
it.
sometimes called the pluck. Basically the thoracic organs. This happens to be missing the heart. There are some slight differences between pig lungs and human lungs. Namely, in a human, the diaphragm would be down here. So this part would be the base and it would curve. But in a pig, the diaphragm is right here, curving like this. So this is posterior, this is anterior. And so that's why this side is the curvature side. But other than that, the basic shape is the same. You can even see the trachea and the primary bronchi, or main bronchi, if you want to call them that. And then we can just hook this up. Now remember, when you inhale, you draw air in using a complex physiological process. We're going to force air in using this bellows.
Oh wow! Stop it.
That is so
Rewind.
Now it's going to slowly deflate because the system isn't completely leak-proof. I could make it that way, but then I'd never be able to take it apart. So I'll give it another pump.
Wow.
Looks like there's a little bit of damage done on this side. Now you remember the name of the sac that's around the lungs? Does anybody remember what the sac is around the lungs? There's a sac around the heart, there's a sac around the lungs, pericardium around the heart. The pleura is the general term, and then we have the parietal pleura and the visceral pleura. Well, the parietal pleura is still in the pig someplace. They get these, by the way, from a butcher shop. If you were to touch this, you're technically not touching alveoli and lung tissue, you're touching visceral pleura.
So the Z pleurisy comes from?
That is where the term pleurisy comes from, yes.
I'll drop the mic.
He's not even an anatomy student, boy, yeah. Now, and the nice thing about when you inflate them is when you come over, you're welcome to inflate. One pump is usually enough, and feel them. And they are very, very light because, of course, they're filled with air, right?
What's an actual PSI?
And you can feel that
Like a
curvature.
22 PSI?
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I'm going to hook up a pressure pump to this so that we can do some experiments with it and we can look at the pressure that it takes to inflate the lung in a healthy lung.
That's a healthy lung.
That's the healthy
It's
lung.
healthy.
Yep.
Oh, Trish, here you go. Here comes the nasty.
Now let's just leave that here.
I saw somebody just out your car this morning. It was raining.
Those lacking are the floor.
Put your hand sanitizer out.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. So what happened to this guy?
He smoked.
Well,
Marlboro Lights, baby, right there.
okay.
Stop saying my name.
So this is from the so-called smoking pig. It's not like they sent the pig out to the back to puff on a cigarette. But what it does is it using a dye, it represents a pack a day for 20 years. Now, before I even hook it up, I need a volunteer. Take that off.
Oh, he's like a
Somebody
breeder.
come over here, and I need the same person to hold the healthy lung. Now hold this one. Hold the smoking lung. And you can feel the difference. The smoking lung is heavier. That's tar inside of those lungs. And all of that black would represent the tar in your lungs. And that tar has a weight. Thank you very much. Now, don't pass it around, we don't wanna have drips. Just, you just like lay it back down and actually, let's not lay it here, let's lay it right here. Okay, let's attach this. If I had the pressure gauge attached to it, you would find that it takes more pressure to inflate these lungs.
Oh my gosh.
Notice how quickly they deflate? That's and you can even hear it. Hear the air? This person, if this was a person, they would have a pneumothorax. They would have a collapsed lung on the right side. That visceral pleura, and it just happened, the problem happens to be right in front of me. The visceral pleura has a hole in it. And so when I inflate this, the air's coming in, it's going into the alveoli. The alveoli have ruptured, and the air is going right through the alveoli, right through the visceral pleura, and coming right out at us. But on this side, it's not doing that because the pleura on the left is completely isolated from the pleura on the right. So the left lung has its own sac separate from the right. If the right lung collapses, the left lung won't. Your brain still will not like the fact that you're getting less air, but at least it keeps the system intact. Now, you say there's a bleb on this side?
I think
There's
so.
a tumor on that side. Let me turn it around and see. Oh,
On your right.
let me take a,
That's a juicy side.
let me take a look when I,
Is that a blob?
Oh my god.
You know what I'm talking about?
you talking about this white?
No.
No, it's a little clear.
It should, oh yeah, right here, right here.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Oh, I see it.
Yep, there's one there, yep.
Yep. This represents a tumor. But right over here, these little pouches.
There's one on the back side too, on your,
Yeah,
on
there's
the left side.
one over here.
I mean, the right side.
The right side, yeah, right over here.
Yep.
These little outpocketings, those are called blebs, and that's the best place to see visceral pleura. That's what the visceral pleura looks like. But what's happening here is that, in a sense, this pig would have kind of like emphysema. Not that we can give a pig emphysema, but the alveoli, the superficial alveoli, have broken down. And now the only thing that's holding the air in at that spot right there is that visceral pleura. If I were to take a pin and pop that visceral pleura, then we would have the same problem as we have a little further down here where there's an actual hole and the air is escaping right through it.
So that's what that is there on the middle.
Right here too.
Right there.
That's
Yep,
what
that's
we're
a
talking
bleb.
about. Okay.
What's a blood?
It's just, no, you haven't, It's a pocket of air in a sense. I mean, there's different ways of defining it. It's a destruction of the superficial alveolar walls, capturing of the air in that, or by that pleural, visceral pleural. It's bad, is what it is. So those of you that have been smoking for a while, this is potentially what your lungs look like. Now you have,
Stop tripping, stop smoking.
so instead of having spaces to capture oxygen and to allow that oxygen to go into the bloodstream, you're filling your spaces, you're filling your alveoli up with tar. And that makes your lungs less efficient at doing gas exchange. So now you have to take deeper breaths to get the same amount of oxygen. So your body is going to respond by increasing the size of your intercostal muscles. So your thoracic space is going to get larger. And you see some people with emphysema, they have what's called barrel chest because they have to take such deep breaths in order to just inhale what you and I would inhale through a normal breath.
Does that increase your respiratory rate as well? Like how quick that deflated compared to the healthy lung?
Well, in this case, this person, or if this was a person, they'd have a collapsed lung, a pneumothorax. But in the case of emphysema, yes, because they're getting less gas exchange, they're either going to take deeper breaths, which is typically the case, or more rapid breaths. Usually the body will go for deeper breaths prior to rapid breathing. Rapid breathing doesn't fill the lungs as fast as deep breathing does.
Will rapid breathing speed up the heart rate as well?
Rapid breathing can definitely affect the heart rate, yes. When those lungs inflate, they're compressing on the heart. So they're making it a little bit more difficult for the